And the other thing that I did that was, I think, was also very feminist, but I didn't think of it that way, was delaying having children until I finished my coursework. And it was, again, very unusual for a woman to do that, at least in my circles. I lived in Brooklyn Heights, and I didn't know anyone else who was in graduate school, any other woman that had a professional identity. All of the women were full-time mothers or worked very part-time, but were not identified as professional women. And when I had my first child at 30, which was very late at that point in history, I had it at a hospital in Brooklyn that had a large contingent of Orthodox Jewish doctors. And I didn't have a pediatrician at that hospital. I had the baby there because my gynecologist, my obstetrician was there. And so when I was assigned a pediatrician for my newborn, and he came in to interview me, and he said, did you have trouble getting pregnant? And I said, no. And he said, that's hard for me to believe. And I said, why? And he said, well, I know how old you are. And of course, in his world, having one's first child at 30, was very unusual. And so I said, what are you talking about? And he said, well, you're 30. And I said, yes, but I'm the first person among my friends to have a child, which was true. Yeah. Most of my friends weren't even married at that point. So, I felt the context of it all, but I wasn't identified as a feminist. And then I became a mother, and that completely radicalized me.
How so?
And I'm still, working on that. Well, my husband was a very involved father and very dedicated, but he worked, full-time and had a demanding job, and I cut back on I didn't work for several months, and then I was testing very part-time, and my analyst and the entire culture felt that children needed mothers full-time, and even the little bit that I was away, I was getting a lot of negative feedback about. And I realized that if I were going to have the career that I wanted, my husband was going to have to really kick up his involvement dramatically. And that began a long and interesting negotiation with my husband. And, I now see that as much less personal than political. And I suddenly realized that everything that I had read or heard about dimly in terms of feminism, this was 1976, I was living in my life. And so I began to think about it and write about it, and I still am.